guys.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wrestling Draft.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling Draft here on the Wrestling Draft YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast from. I am one of your hosts, Scott McLeod. Sorry, I couldn't attend last week. I was feeling a little under the weather, and I apologise profusely for having to leave you in the company of Dave on his own. This is there's a reason why I'm the co-host here because no one else wants to be. Someone has to fill in a position, and you can tell that while I've been away, I've clearly also been living in the woods. If you're watching the video version, might be getting out of control, if you even want to call it that.
You went
I
full
should have,
Survivor.
I should have shaved before. My father keeps calling me Tom Hanks in Castaway. I don't think that's a compliment, but you already heard his voice, David Hockney. Good to be back as we head to the draft. Goes to take a trip all the way, all the other side of the world, down under to Australia for Crown Jewel.
And it's one of those pay-per-views, we can't complain about getting to watch at a respectable time of day. Although
Yeah.
the same can't be said. I mean, actually, no, the same could be said for 2027 WrestleMania, but I think that's a whole different kettle of fish at this point.
And I was telling you before we recorded, and if only Australia had a lot more money behind it, we
If
could
the
have had
UK had a lot
Aussie
more money
Mania.
behind it as well.
Just need Aussie Mania, and I would have been happy. Only 5 matches at Crown Jewel, but a lot of people's captains, involved, and a lot of people's big players still involved here, and also means for us in the UK we can have it done by dinner time, so everybody's happy.
Yep.
Unless your pick loses, and we're going into the draft, and some people who aren't very happy. But we're going to say that before we get to the leaderboard, to the top 3 scorers of the week, with John Moxley in at 8 points. I believe he's on your friend Robert Shaw's team.
Yep.
John Moxley is the #1 scorer still overall of the season, but he's comes behind the second most highest scorer overall, who's in second at 12 points. That's TNT champion Kyle Fletcher, and just want to take a moment to see though the fact that it seems to be only when I don't have the TNT champion that the TNT championship is anything viable in this draft. But it's just my luck. But
Yep.
just ahead of him is a double title holder with Sol Ruka, who's coming up being a part of that big TNA NXT showdown. Don't say invasion.
No.
This past week.
Yeah.
He's an Alan
It'd be
Lucas.
like holding. It'd be like the equivalent of bringing back Insurrection in Washington DC on January 6th.
Or Rebellion. Either works.
Or Rebellion, yeah, that works too.
Either works, yeah. But interestingly, Tom Brock and Alan Lucas are very high up on the table trying to chase Steven, and it's their picks with Tom having Kyle Fletcher and Alan Lucas having Sol Ruka respectively that are in that top 3. Is there any surprises you see there? I mean, there's at least a champion. I think Kyle Fletcher has had a title defense this past week on the anniversary Dynamite, but what about the other two?
I think JC Jane as well has really sort of worked her way up the ranks in the grand scheme of things, because obviously, she's tied with Moxley on 8 points this week, but now she's 5th highest scoring overall, joint with Braun Squared, who have the captaincy applied to them as well. So I think JC Jane has been massively slept on in the last couple of seasons. Everybody was saying, oh, she's just a transitional champion. She's going to drop it quicker than quicker than anybody, really. But nah, they're giving her some time to run with the ball, and to fair's fair. She's doing well
Mhm.
getting these points. She's contending with the likes of Sami Zayn, who's been defending the US title week in and week out. Jey Uso has been yeeting everywhere. Have you seen his new shirt as well? Yeeting ain't easy, which I believe was one of your previous
Drafted
team
easy.
names. You
So I
should
feel
file.
like
You should file. You need to file for copyright or a cease and desist.
yeah, because I clearly didn't steal that from one Charles Wright Esquire, who it's
Mm,
clear that Jey Uso studies the greats like the Godfather, who deserves a lot more respect. But uh, Tom Brock, you mentioned JC Jane. I think she's very much over delivering every time she gets that big win. Also, we had her winning at No Mercy, and she was part of the big NXT TNA show this past week.
hmm
And I think it's not helped her being selected on by WWE, who within like literally a week of her winning, were already having people come on TV to calling her beatable and commentary arguing over whether or not she's a good enough champion. That's went on week after week, no matter how much she actually wins, whether by cheating or otherwise. But like, I don't think you can blame people because the perception is that you're not great and you're not going to win a lot, then people aren't going to take you seriously, especially not in a drafting circumstance. But I think it also
mm,
means someone like Justine is a lot more of a steal as a pick uh, going for it in the draft. But we mentioned Kyle Fletcher. I mean, Tom Brock gets nervous every time, but Kyle Fletcher had a match, especially when he had a match against Orange Cassidy recently. Orange just
hmm
recently returning, but Kyle Fletcher does get the win. But he is set up for a Wrestle Dream match against
hmm
Mark Briscoe, the fifth time they've ever wrestled. They're 2-2. They're setting that up, and it's interesting because it feels like almost there's an edge that maybe Mark Briscoe might win this because, like, yeah, Kelvich's coming off a
mm.
loss at the last pay per view, but he's had a couple of team detail defenses in the meantime to build him back up again. And Mark Briscoe, they've been teasing a major push for him for ages, with like properly on main AEW TV, and he's coming off that win against MJF.
Yeah, that
So
would be a stinker for Tom if Kyle Fletcher dropped the title to Mark Briscoe at this stage. But I think we'll get something out of it, but I don't know if a title changes on the cards.
yeah. But talking about Sol Ruka, again, I mentioned Alan Willis' team. She's on 40 points overall,
Hmm.
the second highest score on his team behind Tommy Vito, the Continental Champion, Kazuchika Okada. There's been a lot of talk in the chat. It was me and Alan on before, and I think we first properly started talking about the team and giving it their due credit. At least I know I did after Forbidden Door when Alan had like several results come up in a row, and we suddenly, oh Jesus, he's climbed up the table. Uh, but apparently, someone on this show called it the worst draft team of all time. I don't remember saying that. Other people might have said it. I didn't say it.
I'll admit
Uh,
I was one of them, and there were
you might
plenty of
have
other
been
people that backed me up on that. So
with Sports Illustrated telling you as well.
what's that?
With Sports Illustrated saying it as well. Is that where you
Hmm.
got it from?
Nah, I think what's happened with Sol Ruka has been a bit of a twist of fate, given that the Speed Championship's going to be featured on NXT now, rather than just on Twitter or X rather. So
Mhm.
I think that change in dynamic has really put more of a spotlight on Sol Ruka, given that she's also the women's North American title. When was the last time she defended that title, by the way? Because I think it might have
Well, at least
been Heatwave, but she did defend the speed title against Jada Parker lately.
Yeah, I think she did lose to Vanessa Hewell. I don't know because like shortly after they started that whole tournament, it took up at least 3 weeks of television to crown the speed champion, and then No Mercy came around
Mm,
quite quickly after Heatwave. So she hasn't really defended that, but I think she's like exchanging months. Like this month she'll defend the speed title, this one she'll defend the North American Championship. I think that plus the random push for Brodido are two unforeseen twists of
mm.
fate that really helped
Yeah,
Lucas in the
either
month.
either someone's been reading the dirt sheets or the universe is playing some very interesting moves of chess right here.
I know, like that's one thing that keeps the draft exciting in terms of Alan here. But those two, like, it's the things you never possibly could have predicted. Like,
Mm,
this is a good side rather than the silly shaded or injuries that you can't foresee and people having to go away, which you had a lot of in the early part of the season. But I think the crucial question here regarding Alan's performance here, and the comments about his team being the worst team ever, is do you ever really get tired of being wrong? Because you are wrong so often on this show.
yeah, I am getting tired of it, to be fair. Like I often think that it's all planned, like everything seems to be foretold as it is, but then lo and behold, like I said, the universe plays some very strange games with the future, and yeah, it just just doesn't. It just goes in the complete opposite direction you expect it to go. But I suppose what it has done is highlighted that the draft is never ever predictable.
And we do like that, especially in a season like this. But the whole thing, Dave, is that like no matter who you are in life, there's always someone out there who's having worse luck than you. And in your case, being second from the bottom, it means there's at least one person underneath you, and that's JP with El Grande Escote, who's cracked double
Because
point. Yeah, whatever. He's cracked the triple digits. He's at 134 points. Good for you. Don't you feel like a big boy? Sticker for you. Then you on 146 points with the Western Country tied with Gary Kernahan on Team Wrestler. Remember a few weeks ago when he was in the top 3, top 4?
yep,
Remember that?
he's had a howler these last couple of weeks.
But someone I don't feel bad for is AI No Better Than You with 148 points, Grammy Robbie, and then 149 points, Iguana Dance with some men, the man without beer, Andy Mitchell. I should pay him his due there. And I should not forget about him. Then Iguana Dance with somebody on 150 points, tied with myself. Matt Smith and myself are tied. While I have Yeet Jeans are made of these. Then ahead of us is Robert Evan Shaw, 115.5
No,
points.
no, 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 no. Say it properly.
Robert fucking Shaw.
There we go.
That pal that Dave Stud definitely has, who's definitely leaving his messages on send.
He is the treasurer of the West End Country Club, and you will treat him with the respect he deserves.
All right. 115.5 points. Then it gets kind of tight here as we go up 161 points, the Essex League to Axel Jameson, and then we have Team Goat with the Goat himself to become 166. Then another jump to fourth place where you have 180 points with Gary Morris at Tsunami Time. And then 185 points. I promise I don't like that other Brock either with Tom Brock, 185, even though he's one of his picks is in the top 3. Dan Lucas has just jumped ahead of him on 187.5 points, so 1.5 points ahead of him, but still edging everybody out is on 199 points, close to the 200 mark. And I don't like saying that. It's straight edge brutality, and it is brutal to recap it. Stephen Wilson still at the top there, but the fact underneath him is keeping very unpredictable is it's exciting to look at, but it's still a question of what it's going to take to what kind of howler of a week is Steven going to have in order to knock him down to have either Alan or Tom or perhaps somebody else even from underneath them jump over Steven.
Well, he does have some representation at Crown Jewel in the form of Rhea Ripley teaming with Io Sky. And I think that's all he has at the minute. No CM Punk, no LA Knight, and no sign of Obafemi as of yet, especially that disaster he had dropping the NXT title. But there's, I think Tom might also be in a good position as well. He's got AJ Styles on his team representing at Crown Jewel. Although, will it be a Cena win? Possibly, but I think
it depends.
I think
that's why I make some people on this run.
I think more of the focus is probably going to be who is on the Listeners League side of things. I think this is where the most points are to be had.
Looking at it, I mean, I'm surprised that the Obafemi tobacco hasn't really affected Stephen as much, because Oba technically lost the title match when he lost by DQ in the title v title match, then lost against Ricky State. So that's 2 title match losses. One of them actually losing the title and being on pay-per-view. So that's 4 points. But somehow Stephen is still managing. And do you think that's more of a strength of his team thing, or is it a comment on everyone else's team?
Possibly a comment on everyone else's team, but to be fair, Stephen had a pretty solid run with some of his other team members. Like CM Punk was getting heavily featured. He was on WrestlePalooza, teaming with AJ. LA Knight getting a bit more featured on Raw. He picked up a win with CM Punk over the Usos, I believe. So yeah, it's been a good week for him points-wise. LA Knight getting 5 points, CM Punk getting 7. So I think Steven's getting points here and there. He just hasn't had that one juggernaut performer, and I think that's the difference between his team and others.
Yeah, I also like Punk, unless he wants to show up, they're going to pay him to fly all the way around the world just to interfere on and attack Seth Rollins just to keep that going. That could be a possibility. I wouldn't rule that out. But yeah, he does have Rhea Ripley, and it's interesting because I don't even know if that's a fully foregone in the
I think the GOAT, David Campbell, might bounce back after Crown Jewel because he has Stephanie Vaquer as his team captain, she could potentially walk away with the Crown Jewel championship.
And like, I'm more certain about where the men's one would go rather than the women's one. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd give the edge to Stephanie, given that she's a more recent title holder of the two, and clearly, big things have been seeing
She's
her
getting pushed
the
to the
champ.
moon at the minute. You might
Yeah,
as well just put all the eggs in the Steph basket.
yeah. Plus, people are there's about quite a lot of fatigue regarding Tiffany Stratton and her title reign and the kind of
Yeah.
lackluster kind of feuds that she's had around that. But Um, looking at the table, I think, like I mentioned, I think the main money in this feud thing with this tag match is leading to an eventual EO versus Asuka singles match.
Mm-hmm.
So the heels maybe need to get the win here. I think Rhea's here mainly because, Australia, I think, is the
It's
main
Australia,
talking
yeah.
point.
Rhea's winning. Surely.
Yeah, you never really know. But like, I think the main thing we need to take away here, that above all else among the leaderboard here, is it's the first time in a long time I have got more points than Grant McRobbie, who is my nemesis for this season. And I'd like to take a moment to appreciate that. Somehow, James,
Yeah.
just purely on his own merits, is somehow carrying me through this season. Just I'm riding that eat train until the wheels fall off, and it's
Can I
already been
just
on
say as
three,
can I
it's been
just
on
say as
three
well?
wheels for half a season. It's only been on three wheels that stayed on the track.
Can I just say as well? 4 points separate 6 players at the bottom of the table. Like literally one good showing on a show, even with just a couple of appearances and maybe a match win, could completely flip the bottom half of the table. So I would take that lead as a godsend. I would not take that for granted in this how competitive this draft season is. Because when you compare the difference between Team Goat and Team Rob and the Draft Bastards, we're talking 6.5 points. Again, that's a couple of appearances plus a match win. So it could all flip on its head. Same with the battle for second. Gary Morris or Tom can have a good week and then they would jump into second, and possibly even close the gap on Stephen. But we've said in the group chat before, this is probably one of the tightest seasons we've had in a very long time.
Nice and tight. We like it. Tell of your sex tape. But it is very interesting. Especially you mentioned
Yeah,
one
that's
good
funny. I
performance.
thought I was the one that made the innuendos.
You've not got a copyright on that. But we do have like 3 pay-per-views for the next 3 weekends. We've got Crown Shield, we've got Wrestle Dream the next weekend, then we have
Mm-hmm.
Halloween Havoc that we had, and then I think right at the start of November there's a Saturday night's main event, which isn't a pay-per-view, but they do try and put big matches on it. And then we have the 2 major shows to round out November with Full Gear and Survivor Series in the last 2 weeks of the season. So it's very much all to play for as we head into November. I think when we're heading to Full Gear, I think I'll be more confident in where everyone is. But even then, that could shake stuff up. But in the meantime, we talk about how tight it is here. Is it tighter in the Listeners League? Dave, that's the question I want you to answer me.
It is when it comes to battling for third, because we have in 5th place this week, it's Gordon with I'm Not Too Fussed, 206 points. Well, you better get fussed, Gordon, because you're breaking the top 5 here. You could finish well this season if you keep that momentum going. 4th place, Ross Johnson, Headlocks and H, 206.5 points, so just half a point ahead. And then half a point ahead of him is Sam and the Dallas Cowboys, 207. Literally 1 point separates 3 people battling for third. Then it's a bit of a leap up to 2nd place, Ross Brady, the big Ross man, 227.5. And then still top of the table and looking very, very strong going into Crown Jewel. It's Big Alan Laurie, Draft Balls 3, the search for Draft Balls 2, 253 points. A very sizable gap between him and Ross. His team, to remind everybody, contains Seth Rollins, John Moxley, Braun Squared, Sol Ruka, as we've previously discussed, Chelsea Green, and Nick Aldis. Seth Rollins, arguably the favourite going into the men's Crown Jewel Championship. So a win for Allen would give him a massive, massive lead ahead of the rest of the pack. And when you look at that compared to Ross's team, he also has Seth Rollins and Braun Squared. So that's something to consider. The vision is part of these 2 teams, but Allen already has that bit of an extra lead ahead with the Sol Ruka being the main factor in this one. But the rest of Ross's team is JC Jane, Adam Pierce, Dax Hardwood, and Lash Legend. So it looks like he went for the GOATs strategy, pick one member of FTR and hope that they get somewhere with it. It's done all right, but I think Big Al and Laurie with uh, Sol Ruka, Moxley, I think is the big one because Moxley is leading the charge with 10 non-title TV wins and still consistently being a top scorer. So I think that's the difference maker along with the solid week that Sol Ruka's had. So I think if it stays consistent as it is, I think Alan Laurie is probably I would now say is the favorite to win the Listeners League.
Yeah, even I think I don't think that men's crucial matches is foregone as you might think it is, but I think if Seth loses, even then, that doesn't really leave much room to catch up to Allen. Like with Braun Square, like also Bronson Reed is in a singles match, but like probably to help him get involved in the street fight. Plus, they come out later on, maybe try and get involved to help Seth. That's two
Possibly.
appearance points as a team because obviously they're picked as a tag team. It's interesting. We'll maybe talk about it more next week, but like, John Moxley is the number one scorer overall of the season at the minute. He got the win at All Out. We didn't think he would, and they've set up this rematch at WrestleMania, which feels like this might be the end of the feud where Darby gets that win. Question is,
Is this
people have
the
been
I Quit
asking,
match?
yeah, and like people have been talking about Moxley given his schedule and how relentless he's been around. Is he going to take some time off finally after the show?
Ooh.
You got to think how that will affect the draft, particularly Robert Shaw's team. Is sure he's a reliable pick on his team, and then the several people in the listeners league who have picked John Moxley, especially with like a month left to go, and someone as big as John Moxley, the number one scorer in the draft, leaving, just being off TV, that would be a big thing. That
And he's already, had the incident with Jade Cargill as well when she got her head split open on the stairs. She's been ruled out for a couple of weeks as well.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. But talking about terms of people consistent, weeks here and like performances. Steve also pointed out that in terms of our number, like overall, like, as we mentioned, John Moxley and Kel Fletcher below him, and then it's Jey Uso after him. Then you got Sami Zayn in fourth overall. But the thing with Sami is that he's not made a single appearance on pay-per-view, had not had a match on pay-per-view. The fact he won the United States Championship and has been consistently defending that championship. You got a half point because I think there was technically a draw with that no contest against Cena, but he's defending against Ray Phoenix, he's defending against Carl Hayes, and
Alistair
he
Black as well.
but he's like helping Andy Mitchell, just rake it in. He is still in the lower half of the table, but it's still like exceptional performance for a first round pick.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
again begs the question, Dave, why are you always wrong?
Again, it comes back to, the universe playing chess when I'm playing checkers. It's actually, no, that should be the other way around. But you get the idea. Basically, when it looks predictable about, what they're going to do next, and then all of a sudden they just shoehorn this weird ass booking, and it just seems to benefit one person that I basically said this is a bad idea, this isn't gonna work, and then lo and behold, it does work. So yeah, what can you do? But Sami Zayn running rampant, with the US title, 5 TV title wins, the most of anybody in the season so far, 45.5 points overall, and that's mad. Like as you said when you said, he hasn't appeared on pay-per-view since SummerSlam, and that's insane because we know how valuable like a mid-card title can be in past seasons when you've got the captaincy applied.
I know, but at the start of the season we were talking about will he be part of War Games? I mean, it seems like if there was a War Games match, it'll be like the Vision versus like a version of the Bloodline. So maybe getting Sammy back in for that, I wouldn't entirely rule it out, but that would be a great way to round off the season with a pay-per-view appearance. Have you
I think they'll
looked
get
at
Cena in War Games this year.
Depends, because it's already weird enough that they're giving his last appearance on a Saturday night's main event, not pay-per-view. But
Well, when it's a
it would be
calendar, when he said this was going to be his last calendar year, I mean, you can't exactly go out at WrestleMania or anything like that.
yeah, but
So,
like, even at Survivor Series being the last one, I think no one would do that. Well, you're in charge of your dates and everything. Just make another one up. You had a year, make another pay-per-view up. Bring back New Year's Revolution or whatever you want to call it. But Dave, looking at Sami Zayn, have you looked at the current performances of the round one picks when you analyze bit by round? Do you know where Sami Zayn currently is in terms of the round one pick performance?
so draft round quality. Overall, round one is let me see.
'Cause I'm looking at it right now. I'm asking you.
Sami Zayn is top ranked round
Yep,
one
yes,
overall.
he is. 45
That's
and a half
mad.
points. 5.5 points ahead of Dominic Mysterio, the Intercontinental Champion. So the US Champion is currently outperforming the US. It's a shame that we're not getting a. I mean, some people don't like the championship and everything, but it's kind of a shame we're not getting that for the mid card belts because that means we would have got Sami versus Dominic and Julia versus Becky Lynch. I think I want to see
Mm.
those more than the actual matches we're getting. And then he's tied with Adam Page, so Sami's outperforming him. He's outperforming Seth Rollins, outperforming Stephanie Vaquer,
But this is without the captaincy applied, I believe.
which just
These
makes it even
scores.
more impressive, I think.
That is true, yeah.
And of course, he's at the bottom is Naomi, but we won't talk about that. In that. Let's go back
She
to
just had
current.
to, yeah, she just had to take all of Big Jim.
Good Lord, man! You just had to talk about
Hey,
that.
listen, use title of a sex tape earlier, so I'm
Yeah,
just
that
refer.
highlight that was clever though. You're just full of coming over. But let's actually look at Crown Jewel. We've got Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes. You seem to be convinced that Seth Rollins win. I, on the other hand, think that this is going to be a back-to-back win for Cody Rhodes because
Hmm.
Cody. It is about that Cody is the quarterback. The thing about this show, like, it's why I wasn't so sure about some of the matches like the Rhea Ripley one, because like again the story means Asuka eventually against Io Sky, but like on a show like this, which people do still call like glorified house shows when they go to Saudi or to Australia, even though they're massive stadiums, like they do often like a big baby face win, which is why I think if this is the main event, which I'm sure it will be, they'll want to round it out with Cody Rhodes celebrating all the pyro in the bloody world going off behind him, and all that. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if instead it's Cody Rhodes that gets the win.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that. I think this has got a Seth Rollins win all over it. Given that, Cody won at WrestlePalooza, Rollins lost at WrestlePalooza in the mixed tag match. I think Rollins needs to get a win back. Cody doesn't necessarily need it, and they'll still have plenty of pyro for his entrance alone. So yeah, and I think to keep the crown jewel scenario like a bit more fresh, I think it makes more sense to have Rollins finally get that win over Cody on TV because as I last checked, including house shows, I think Cody's got like a 22-0 record against Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I think that's like part of like the story going this. But again, Seth is the heel here, and yeah, he's got the big heel group. But I don't know. I can see it being Cody. So like it goes.
Yeah,
Robert, I mentioned if he does lose John Moxley, I forgot that he also has Cody Rhodes because I couldn't remember who actually had Cody Rhodes. So he's lost.
yeah,
He might
Robert
lose.
does. Yeah,
He might lose Moxley depending on how the rest of the match goes. I won't focus on that too much just now. He lost to Carly. I mentioned Julia hasn't really done anything. Talatonga's buggered off. Hurt Syndicate got to get a win on Dynamite, but so I think Robert Shaw more than anyone will be hoping for a Cody Rhodes win. And if he loses Moxley, he'll be having to ride that Cody train right through that last month of the season, maybe going into Survivor Season or into War Games. So it is Graham McRobbie versus Robert Shaw in that one. But
mm-hmm.
Gary Morris with it soon out, he has two big people. He has also like Tiffany Stratton, who will go against the Goats, Stephanie Vaquer.
Mm-hmm.
He also go up against you also be going up against the Lucas because I don't actually he's picked him as a tag team, isn't he?
The Kabukis.
No, Braun Squared. Braun
Oh
Squared
yeah,
are
Broad Squared. Yeah.
so he won't really gain anything if Braun wins, but you know about Australia, Braun's not bloody winning this. It's Roman Reigns for God's sake.
Aye,
There's
but it's
another there's another
dude.
win for Roman Reigns. That's gonna help Allen
Let's
further
not
try and
forget
climb.
Shane McMahon holds a victory over Roman Reigns in Saudi Arabia. Like the maddest shit can happen, and one of the Aussies has to win their matches, surely.
Yeah, but that's Stephen Wilson there with Rhea Ripley, which again will
And
annoyingly
I have
help.
Io Sky as well.
It'll help annoyingly help him move up the table, but Allen will try and climb up and just nip at his heels by getting Roman Reigns a win at the same time.
Without the captaincy on him, might I add.
Yes, but it's still a win is a win on pay-per-view. And again, it is Roman Reigns. I mean, also Bronson Reed is not the best in the world, as proven by a trophy and everything. So, I don't care if you went over to Japan for it after you got fired and beat Okada. Who did Okada ever beat? You're not the best in the world. Shane McMahon is. Yeah, then you also got the tag match with the Kabuki Warriors versus Io and it's
Rhea
weirdly,
Ripley.
I get that. Oh yeah, weirdly, it's weirdly more unpredictable than I thought it might be going into it. I
Yeah.
mean,
This
I'm
is the best
confident whatever.
storylines of the product so far. The whole Rio versus Kabuki Warriors saga. Kyrie obviously feels conflicted. Io Sky feels betrayed by the Kabukis. And yeah, we get the arguably the best women's tag team I think we've seen in quite a while after Charlotte and Bliss is Rhea and Io.
Hmm. But I agree with you what you said earlier on. Goat will probably have a strong performance to kind of climb back at the table, and I
Mm-hmm.
think Alan Lucas and Robert Shaw, those three guys, I think are the people to really get. Those were where the big points will be in terms of people taking advantage of this show and that the short card that they've got. Because I can't remember who said had AJ Styles, but I wouldn't mind it, but I'd be surprised if AJ does get a win because the last thing on TV is he's still having matches with like fucking El Grandes or whatever he was doing.
Mm,
So to go from that to beating John Cena, maybe a bit of a leap.
possibly.
Hmm. So looking at the table, I said Almond will try and catch up to Stephen Wilson, but I definitely think that it's Robert Shaw, Cody Rhodes, Alan with Roman Reigns, and David Campbell with the Stephanie Vicaire will make the top half of the table a lot more interesting come this time next week going into WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the downsides here with the WWE should be a bit shorter because like it's only a certain people who will benefit. Where I think there's more of an opportunity if you've got one of the AEW pay-per-views. But I'm sure you'll be happy to close the gap between yourself and JP if Io Sky and that
Yep. Give us
you might
a Rio win. That would be magic. Oh, I'm in two minds about doing something here, but you know
well,
what?
I'll take
I'll sit on it I'll sit on it for the weekend, but I'll need to make a decision before Raw. So make of
what
that
you
what you
think.
will.
I'm assuming this is to do with captaincy, but I don't even know who your current captain is.
It's Charlotte Bliss.
And how has that worked out?
Not great.
Yeah, they've had two defenses, I think, so far. I think it was in the same week, so they had one good week. And it doesn't help again some of the state of the women's tag scene and the fact that when they defend the tag titles on SmackDown, I go point out it's the first time that SmackDown has seen a women's tag team title defense in the year 2025. So
That's embarrassing. Like,
it is
especially
maybe
when they were such a hot commodity going into SummerSlam. Like, you'd have
also
thought they'd have just took the ball and ran with it, but nah, it's just another. They just feel like placeholders at this point.
I know, and I don't even think Michael should even be telling us that because that's not the big pull that you think it is. It's really more of a damning indictment of the
Hmm.
state of the tag team division. But I really think maybe a change is worth considering with your team. I mean, it won't help you this weekend because it won't go into effect till Raw.
Hmm.
But until then,
But
we
you
can.
did say Halloween Havoc was coming up, so I'll bear that in mind.
Mhm. And I'm sure another defense and soul worker will be the thing that Alan McLucas is trying to manifest into the universe heading into that show. Don't think Stephen Wilson has anyone who's on NXT on his team, as far as I know. I also don't know how many people will benefit. I mean, Obafemi, unless Obafemi wants to get a rematch, then I don't think he'll be benefiting from that show. Yeah,
Hmm.
still all to be determined in the next couple of weeks, and I think we do like it when it stays exciting because we've had a few seasons like often the transfer window season it's like one person leading it for the majority of the season, and unless you're that one person, you're going to be very annoyed following along that. But until next time, where we wrap up everything that happened at Crown Jewel and the Crown Jewel Championships, which definitely means something. What we should mention actually in those matches, there will be title match win points coming
Hmm.
on pay per
Yep.
view. So it's the highest amount, even though you're winning something that doesn't technically matter, you won't be defending. It's title points on pay per view up for grabs.
Yep.
So that's why I'm
A
saying.
Saudi endorsed title being defended in Australia. Like it's and it's just
But
an
international
oversight.
affair.
It's like a tea tray. It's like a golden tea tray, that title.
I know. I think they're making more of an emphasis on the rings rather than the belts. I don't know if they're even bringing the belts in. So the
Hmm.
current championship is more of a ring, a symbolic thing. But yeah, it is title points. So that's why I mentioned it's like that's how it's more important for like likes of Grant and Robert and Alan Alan Goat, who are all like vying to get points for this and help shake up the table even more than it already is. But until
Hmm.
next time, make sure to follow us on social media, follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Draft, or I think it's Wrestling underscore Draft rather. Make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts and while you listen to the audio version, wherever you get a podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Give us a like, rating, and review on your chosen podcasting platform. But until next time, David, We're back from Australia with our tans, talking all about what happened when we all went down under. It's a goodbye for my co-host David Honey and for myself. We'll see you next time. Same draft time, same draft channel.
See ya.